Hi there and welcome to my channel. The channel that I call Work in Progress, Always Evolving. And we're a fairly new channel, so probably that's an appropriate way to look at it now. Maybe we'll always be evolving. That's probably the way it should be. But since we're new, I'm also allowing for different shifts and different changes, if you will. However, one thing that just doesn't leave my mind, it's an idea I have, is to have conversations with people just like you and me. That means everyday people. And these conversations would be stories and challenges and successes and all of the things that we've gone through in our life journey that we could share with others through these conversations. Because I do believe by sharing our particular stories, our journey, we help others. And I think the bonus would be that by having these conversations, that we'll find out we're much more alike than not alike. So if this idea tempts you at all, then look below the video, because that's where my contact information is, and just click on that and give me a holler, and let's see if we can't have a conversation. So in the meantime, between now and these conversations that may or may not happen, I'm sharing pretty much just what I've been experiencing, maybe what I know others are, and again, this idea to share and hopefully help some others. So what I want to talk about today is actually, it's a personal experience that happened yesterday. And the gist of this is how we actually take our particular experiences from the past, or the beliefs, let me call it that, rather than experiences. We take our beliefs, our programming, our conditioning, whatever it is, and we do not realize that we actually project these old beliefs, these that weren't even ours, right, that we inherited from families, etc. And we actually keep these beliefs kind of tucked in somewhere, and then they get triggered in different circumstances, but we're still in that belief. So we're reacting and responding in what this belief, which no longer serves us, which probably never did, but we then add this story to whatever's happening in the now time, years and years and years later, right, from maybe when we picked up this belief. So I caught myself yesterday in this exact situation, and I thought it would be worth sharing. So just not to go into all the detail and trauma and drama, but give you kind of a backstory of what was going on. My husband's aunt passed away, kind of suddenly, about, I don't know, a month or so ago. And so this particular aunt was married to my husband's uncle, who he had a very close relationship with. In fact, we both have, through all our years of being together, with our years of marriage. We've always been in contact, or actually stayed with this aunt and uncle at times when we were living abroad, and would come back to the Bay Area, and just had many experiences with them. The bonding was really between my husband and his uncle, and so that's where that's at. And so again, she passed away, and I should also mention, we've lived maybe 20 minutes from them. And so whenever it was that she passed away, because I can't exactly remember the time, but it's less than 2 months, maybe a month and a half ago, I was expecting my husband to reach out, because they didn't have any formal funeral, or at least I don't know if they're planning anything in terms of a memorial, but nothing was happening that way. And so I was thinking or expecting him to reach out in some way to this uncle, phone call or something. Anyway, it didn't happen for various reasons. And I was in a lot of stress over this, and but also was trying not to really interfere, being the reason that I'm going to push this, him to reach out, and I didn't feel it was right for me to be the one to reach out. So yada yada. Okay. So this has been bothering me. And at one point we talked about my husband loves to bake, so he had baked some banana bread and talked about taking some of that to his uncle, and then that just never happened. He baked, but the taking to the uncle never happened. And so now, yesterday, what happened is we get a call from my husband's mom, who is the sister to this uncle, saying they were in town and to spend some time with her brother, and she lives about 3 hours away. And so I think that was not yesterday, but the day before that the call came in. And so at that point, my husband decides, okay, we'll reach out to his uncle and we'll go see them on yesterday. Was the day we went to visit. All right, that's the setting up the stage, so to speak. What was going on for me was I was feeling a lot of uncomfortable emotions, or an uncomfortable emotion, and kind of, I couldn't put my finger on it. And, and so yesterday, before we were going in the afternoon, I was telling my husband, I said, I'm feeling anxious, was the feeling, anxious. And I couldn't exactly know why, but when it comes to family, because I've had such traumatic and dramatic and not good experiences with my family, I evidently what I do, now I realize, is I project out those stories of my family or my feelings under certain circumstances to an outer situation, like my husband's family. And I know I've done that over and over, yet knowing at the end of the day that's not how it works in his family, but I do it. Anyway, yesterday, I could feel this anxiety before we were going, and this discomfort, but I just tried to let it be there. I didn't try to push it away. I didn't even know what it was there for. I just assumed, oh, this is my thing with family. I don't know what it is. And I really tried to, or I actually didn't just try. I actually was able to just let these emotions be there and kind of just observe, I guess. So, in my family, had this happened, meaning the response time after a relative would pass away, time-wise, there were certain rules, I guess you could call it, what was appropriate and what was not. In my family, had this same scenario taken place, and we show up at the thing of like yesterday, show up to visit, my family, whoever was there, including the uncle, if it was an uncle or whatever, the person that lost their spouse, would be very direct in letting us know that they were very disappointed that we hadn't contacted them earlier and in an appropriate time. And oh, now you decide to come. Well, aren't we lucky? And there would just be tremendous resentment, and it would be very directly communicated. It wouldn't be something you wonder about, it would be clear. And it would be uncomfortable. And then I would know, okay, we did something really wrong, you feel guilty, you feel shame, blah, 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 and you feel angry, by the way. Yeah, also get angry that this has to go on, but that's the way it is. So this is where I'm coming from, right? In my belief and my experience of what would happen should these circumstances be in my family, then the, shit would hit the fan, so to speak, right? So this is what was going on with me. Now, then we get to visiting, and nothing like this is happening, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? I'm still kind of having this anxiety kind of churning a bit, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, okay, we're just now new, we just got here, blah, 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 but as we're here longer, then something's going to happen. Or maybe when we say, well, okay, we're going to leave, maybe that'll happen right before we leave. I don't know. It's in back of my mind. It's not in the forefront. I'm not really getting what's going on. However, the experience of visiting, and we stayed for several hours, was that the uncle was so appreciative that we came. So there was just nothing about what we had done or not done. He was very grateful and gracious, and we had really, and the same thing with the mother. She was my husband's mother, my mother-in-law. She was not in blaming or any of that. It was just a afternoon of visiting and really being with the uncle and through his grieving time as well, and talking about the aunt, and just a perfectly I don't know what to call it. It felt right, perfectly feeling right occasion. And it wasn't until I don't know if I woke up with this idea. I believe I did. Little by little, this stuff will sink in or sneak in of what really went on. And I started to get a very clear picture of how I project out what my past experiences have been, which were all negative in my family. And I would be expecting this, particularly in family situations. It can happen in other ways as well, but particularly anything to do with family, I have these concerns and this anxiety that the same devastating stuff that would happen in my family was going to happen is what happens. You know what I'm saying? And I know I have had a crazy family. I mean, they would get in arguments at funerals. They're crazy, right? But this is what I grew up with. And so it kind of gets into, it's something I believed is what happens if you don't do the appropriate things. So it was really, you'd think I'd learned this a long time ago, but I haven't. And so when it's happening in a family situation, I realize I always have anxiety. Depending on the situation, right? Depending on what's going on, the anxiety can be stronger or less, but it was strong yesterday in this situation. And when it finally hit me that, wait a minute, I'm expecting, because I think that's what everybody does, this certain behavior, because that's what happened in my family, and it's like almost embedded in me, like ingrained. I don't even know the word, but it's like there seems to be no room for anything else except that this could happen. Like, okay, we didn't do the right thing, and so I'm always involved, or not involved, but I'm always tend to judge is what's appropriate in all this. Are we being appropriate, particularly with family, but it can also happen with friends or any situation. So by becoming aware, that's really what happened. But by becoming truly aware of this whole event that took place and aware of what the actual experience was, has really opened me up to be able to see how I do these projections, and I'm hopeful that this is going to help me let go of doing that, and recognize that whatever is happening in this moment, my now moments, has nothing to do with any experiences I've had in the past. And I see clearly in so many ways how I have been these experiences that have gotten really embedded in me, I think through the trauma of them, and have these expectations that it's going to happen in whatever circumstance is going on at the moment. And it crosses all lines, what do I want to say? Crosses all borders. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like it'll come up. This can happen in so many situations that I project out what the trauma was and the experience and beliefs that were built by my own families and me being in that family by those experiences, and that I've held on to them somehow, or they're stuck in a loop with me, or I've just not really been truly recognizing how this worked for me or how this happens. And there's no doubt in my mind that this is what happens to a lot of us, not just me, but those of us particularly probably that had challenging childhoods with these traumas that went on were much more sensitive to, whatever it is, in my case, families. Even to the point, it's kind of funny, but it's not really, I made some very, very good friendships through all the years, and, where everybody's feeling really good about being friends, and so many times I've heard from a friend, oh, I feel like you're just family. You're just like family. You're part of our family. And that's all I'd have to hear, and I would cringe inside. Like, that's the worst thing you could say to me, because I want to run away if you're going to tell me if it's family. The last place I want to be is anything about family. And so, I didn't verbalize this when somebody said it. I understood that it was a meaningful statement, that they were, was very sweet and loving of what they're saying, but I'm cringing inside, right? And so again, based on my experience of anything called family. So that is my example of and maybe some of these ideas could be something you connect with. It doesn't have to be family. It can be anything, absolutely anything. I mean, it could be, maybe it has to do with your career, or a job that you have. Could be around friendships. It could be. It just could be around anything that you had as an experience growing up that set up a particular belief that you're still carrying with you. And if you can become aware in the moment, and I think the key is to notice when you're under certain circumstances, what is the emotion that's going on? Not why, just what, is it anxiety, a discomfort, a worry, the other shoe's gonna drop feeling? What is it? And then allow it to be there. Don't try to get rid of it or talk yourself out of it, because you're not gonna get the connection right away. So let that, whatever that is, that emotion, just be there without, I know it's uncomfortable, believe me, uncomfortable, but you can do it. You can allow it to be there. And by just allowing that to be there, and then having the now moment experience, I think this is what will help trigger back the understanding. I shouldn't use the word trigger. It would just be able to open up for you to be able to see through this belief and how you've been carrying it with you, and how it no longer serves you. Certainly, I got that in spades, really. So, just to kind of add another little piece to this is, it's no joke what goes on with us when we're growing up in our childhood, and how we absolutely take on these beliefs, and that then we don't realize as we moving into our adult times, how we're still using these beliefs, which have nothing to do with our now moments, nothing, but we attach to them in a certain way, and so something can be happening in our now moment, and then we're putting on this whole layer of story and concern or whatever, like yesterday for me, the anxiety, and not even realizing that this is happening, not even realizing it. And so, like yesterday, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, it never dropped. But if I was still in that mindset, then I could just think, well, they probably were thinking it, but they just weren't expressing it, because that's more like that family. They don't express directly, thank God, like mine. So, but they probably felt it. But the truth is, when I had to break away from this belief and really have the real experience, there was just nothing there. Nothing except my story, right? So I think it's a very good practice, could be a good practice, as the more we can let go of these beliefs that are really driving us, they're a big part of how we're living our life in the now moment. And as we begin to see them, then we can see through them, release them, and actually have the experience of what is really going on in the moment, period. Yeah, just be in the moment, because it's not going to be anything like what we put over it, like what we add a story to, you know? It's really a freeing feeling. It frees us to be able to be in a moment of what's real. But it takes that awareness, and I don't know that how we finally get to that awareness. I think it's through inner inquiry, through our work, through recognizing, what happened in our childhood, and then to really inquire about the beliefs that we have. And some of that can be done just on an inner level, and then some of it, and I think for me, oftentimes it shows up in an outer situation like yesterday, so I can really see through it and feel it. Really the feeling of it, the experience of it is what really wakes me up, to see, oh, look what I'm thinking, look what I do. And to then really get that, wait a minute, this isn't what's happening. It's what I'm putting a story on this. It never happened. It's not happening, but I'm feeling, or I'm believing like it is, and I have this thing about the other shoe dropping and yada yada. And once I can see through that, once anything, then it's really not so easy to keep it going, right? Like I said, it's freeing. Yeah, it's so worth it, if you want to call it. I don't want to call it effort, because effort isn't the right word, but it's so worth the time to spend in really looking within, really kind of taking an inventory in a way of where we're at, and and really sincerely wanting to understand how our beliefs are kind of ruling on some cases, definitely having an impact on how we see the world. And these are beliefs from long ago. These are beliefs from childhood. They were never our beliefs. They're just beliefs we inherited from the family, from generation to generation, from, our unique families. And none of these were our beliefs. None of them. We just inherited them, right? And, then as we move into past young childhood, then we create new beliefs from others, teachers, friends, I don't know, whatever. But they're not our beliefs, right? In fact, really, beliefs don't work at all, period. There's nothing about belief other than it's a judgment of whatever's going on. But when we don't have any of that happening, then we're just in the moment of what's going on. And I definitely have to say, a part of me definitely experienced that yesterday, just being with what was going on, just noticing the gratitude that was happening. A lot of love was happening. It wasn't even close to my belief. So beliefs are worthless. Seriously, they don't count. They're nothing. What really counts is the moment. Experiencing the moment is and exactly how it is. Even if it's a bad moment, we're experiencing it in exactly as it is, without putting story on it, without having a belief and a judgment around it. Just open, really open. And I've had more and more of these type of experiences for myself in the more recent times, in just all kinds of different ways, catching myself and assuming something. Where does that come from? Oh, it comes from a belief, right? Or having a negative response to something. What is this about? Which really is just me again projecting out something about a certain story, a certain circumstance. It's kind of crazy when you really get a good look at it. It certainly doesn't bring any in the moment good stuff. It filters and really, keeps whatever's really going on in the moment, the truth of what's going on. It keeps it at bay. It keeps it away. We're not even there experiencing it. We're experiencing a belief around it, so we're not even having the experience. Yet, to really be in the experience of the now is simply that. Let go of the beliefs. Let go of the judgments. Let go of the projecting onto whoever, whatever, people, things, a certain belief. Based on what? Based on what we grew up with, which was never our belief, based on our conditioning. It, I think, shows up in so many, many ways that and it's so interesting how we don't recognize it. But we don't. And maybe that's been part of the game, But it doesn't take, at least this is what I'm hoping. I was going to say what I believe, but I'm not going to believe anything, okay? This is what I'm hoping, is that the more often we catch ourselves in these situations, then it would become easier to release and have the freedom of releasing more and more of these so-called beliefs or so-called conditioning, whatever we've been through, and to just be with the moment without any belief, judgment, etc. Just be. Anyway, that is definitely where I'm at, and that is something, again, I wanted to share because I think there's no doubt we all do this, that I know. And if you're in a place to hear this, to really kind of go in within yourself, and maybe you'll notice situations or circumstances where something similar has happened, and that can help you release it. And like I said, there's a freedom, and then there begins to be a deeper grasp of what being in the moment really might be, like being in the moment without these beliefs and judgments and whatever else there is. Just be. Yeah. Whew. So, again, I hope this helps somebody, and I hope it made sense. Oftentimes this is hard stuff to be able to figure out how to communicate to another because it's so unique to our own circumstance that, I always wonder, is this coming across as something making any sense? So, but we all do the best we can, right? So, that's it. I don't think there's any more to say around this. Hopefully the point's been made. Maybe it was made way more than it needed to be made, but we'll leave it at that. So, until next time, take care. And as I always talk about, please be kind to yourself. Even noticing, by the way, these beliefs, getting an own awareness of that, I think has helped me have more compassion and self-care for myself, and recognizing that this was all, when I feel I want to beat myself up and have self-talk that's negative, it's coming from something, not me, not the truth of who I am. So I'm beginning to see through that. So hopefully that can help some of you maybe in learning, or it's not learning, but getting to this place of self-kindness, of self-love, as it's called, self-care, whatever term you can relate to at this point in time. So take care, and we will definitely see you next time as I begin to click this clicker. And I have to tell you, it's so funny. Sometimes I start a video and then either thinking the lighting's weird, or I kind of got tongue-tied or whatever, and then I decide, now I'm going to start over. And I can click this thing off in one click, right? So I can start over. But as soon as I'm doing these videos and I wanted to click off professionally with one click, it takes me 3 or 4. What is that about? I don't know. By the way, I do want to mention something I forgot. If you like the video, please click like. And I would love for you to leave a comment. Really would be much appreciated. Any ideas or thoughts you have, definitely leave a comment. And then I hope you'll subscribe to my video as well. And if you have an idea or something you'd like to have a conversation with me about, we do it on Zoom, and then I'll record it on Zoom, and then we'll put it on this channel. So that's what I talked about at the beginning here. Just connect with me. My contact information is below the video, and let's see if we can have a conversation and make that idea work. So again, I'm saying goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. It's like, that's family stuff, right? You say goodbye 100 times. But I'm really going to click off now. Take care.